Right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachakwadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. Alright, so, I wasn't looking into this. I was looking into something else. I believe I have it, I could show it, but just give me a second here. Because it was not too long ago, because I had left from, where I was to get something to eat, and then I went back out, forgetting that they closed at 5, so this wasn't too long ago. And so what I was looking up just randomly, it kind of led me here, so I didn't know what it was. So I actually decided to read some of it, alright? And so this is from a book called The Negro in Virginia, alright? The Negro in Virginia. It's chapter 15, and the chapter is titled 30 and 9. Alright, so The Negro in Virginia, chapter 15, and the title of chapter 15 is 30 and 9. And what we're going to read here is pages 151 to 152. Those are 2 pages that I have, but the whole chapter itself is 8 pages from chapter 150 to chapter 158. But 151 and 152 caught my eyes. Now I haven't read the other pages, I guess 6 pages. But I do have 151 and 152, and I wanted to read those because it was kind of touching, right? It kind of saddens you at first, and then it kind of angers you. Okay, here it is right here. So I don't know if it'll come up still. It might not. Okay, yep. Chapter 15, 30 and 9, an excerpt from The Negro in Virginia, 1940. All right, and these are all the pages here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, actually 9 pages. Okay, so I miscounted. Yeah, 9 pages. Okay, so yeah, so it says chapter 15 of The Negro in Virginia, 1940, titled 30 and 9, describes the punishment of slaves in Virginia and draws on the recollections of formerly enslaved African Americans, which we know that's talking about what? Israelites, in particular of the tribe of Judah, right? Who they termed us as African Americans, right? But we're not, okay? We're not Africans, and we're not truly Americans. Yeah, some of us grew up in America. They call us Americans, but by nationality, we're Israelites, right? One of a planned series of racial studies undertaken by the Works Progress Administration's Federal Writers Project. The book was completed by the Virginia Writers Project, okay? So, so if you want to look into it, that's that, right? So, and I guess this is from, I can't really see it, 50 years Encyclopedia of Virginia. I think there's something else written there, or it might not be. But so I guess this is what it's from. I didn't exactly go to this place right here. This is just what came up, as I was looking for whatever else I was looking for. Okay, so let me put that to the side. And so I was looking into this because we just randomly punch in things into hold on, bear with me, man. Okay, we had to go back a little bit. I thought I was recording. I have to keep double checking this because I'm using my tablet. Sometimes the screen doesn't touch, so we're recording, so we just have to back up a little bit. I'm not sure we stopped at, but I guess we're at this part here. So it says the torture of enslaved people in the United States was a brutal reality, often considered a form of discipline by enslavers. The methods employed were varied and designed to inflict pain, and this is what stood out to me, made me think about Deuteronomy 28 chapter, break the spirit and maintain control. Whipping was a common form of punishment. Other instruments like the cowskin whip, right, which is basically just like what it sounds like, a typical whip made of cowskin, which could gash the flesh and draw blood. Other substances were sometimes added to the wounds, such as salt brine, turpentine, hot pepper juice, or dripping candle wax. All things that will burn, right? Especially salt. Salt on an open wound, you're in for a hot burning time, right? To increase the pain and hinder healing, right? Increase the pain, obviously, and hinder healing, slow down the healing process. There was also a form of whipping called hand sawing, which involved beating with the toothed edge of a saw. All right, and this is where we were. I thought we were recording, but let's go back over here because I actually put this into another. I don't need that. Yep, another AI chat. And I read this scripture here. I can't remember where we popped in, but we can read it again real quick. Jeremiah 15:33. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah, northern and southern kingdom, were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Right? So that happened on these shores. All right. But this is the other AI. I punched this in. Right. Basic typical question: hand sawing and slave punishment. So it says, here's an analysis of the historical context and methods of punishment, including hand sawing, used on enslaved people in the United States, drawing from the provided text and my knowledge. Methods of punishment. The provided text details various methods of punishment inflicted upon enslaved people in Virginia, reflecting the harsh realities of slavery. Okay, that's probably where I jumped in with that, Jeremiah 50:33. So we read it already, but it's okay. These punishments ranged from minor forms, just make sure I'm ticking, alright, ranged from minor forms of discipline to severe and often fatal tortures, right? And if you know Esau, that's what he specializes in, alright, evil, wicked things. And if you think about the medieval times where they had, they literally had areas called torture chambers, okay? So the name speaks for itself, right? With all kinds of wicked ways to inflict pain upon people, some even to death, alright? Impaling people from their anus and up through their mouth, and all kinds of forms of torture, right? The text highlights that the laws governing enslaved people were designed to protect the slave owner and not the enslaved person, leading to widespread abuse and cruelty, which, that's Esau all day, because you can even see that today in his court system, right? Where, things are set up for Esau to win, even when he's guilty. Now, every now and then, what was so-called justice is served when someone actually wins their case. But a lot of times, Esau is the one that gets the slap on the wrist, and you see that a lot with their police officers, right? They get away with what they're doing. Okay, so that's nothing new. The scriptures tell you that there's nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. So hand sawing. The text mentions a form of whipping called hand sawing. Jones figured that hand sawing probably meant a beating administered with a toothed edge of a saw. This suggests an incredibly brutal form of punishment where the toothed edge of a saw was used to inflict wounds. This method is mentioned in the context of a runaway slave, indicating that such extreme punishments were used to deter escape attempts and maintain control over the enslaved population. So they were using these methods in order to keep them from thinking to run away, right? Context and severity. The text emphasizes the brutal nature of punishments during this era, where human suffering elicited little sympathy. The use of the cat o' nine tails, which is basically a typical whip, but it has multiple ropes. Sometimes it had little hardened, I don't know if they'd be stone, but they might be like balls, and then at the end it would be like sharp, very sharp, similar to like cat claws, which is why they call it cat o' nine tails. Matter of fact, if you ever watched the Passion of Christ movie, when he was being persecuted, he was being whipped, that's exactly what they had, the cat o' nine tails. All right. So it was made to, like it says right here. As a matter of fact, we just read it. The use of the cat o' nine tails, a whip designed to inflict severe lacerations, you see, is described, and the text notes that 39 lashes were a common punishment, which that is in the scriptures. I think Apostle Paul mentioned several times he was beat with 40 lashes minus one. All right, because 39 was that limit there. All right. The text also mentions other forms of torture, such as branding, dismemberment, and the use of hot water and red pepper, which goes along with what we read in the other one, highlighting the sadism and cruelty inherent in the system of slavery. Legal and social context. The legal system in Virginia, as described in the text, provided little protection for enslaved people. Special courts for slaves were established, but the testimony of enslaved people against white people was often inadmissible. The laws often favored the slave owner, and even when masters were found guilty of killing their slaves, the punishments were often lenient or non-existent. The practice of hiring out slaves, as mentioned in the text, often led to increased ill treatment, as the enslaved people were at the mercy of overseers and temporary masters. Yeah, and when you think about the Django movie, right? Okay, so he marked Django's face. I think he ended up marking his face, whether he did or didn't. I think he did it to his wife. But anyways, because he was a runaway all the time, or because you're a troublemaker. All right, you know what? I'm going to sell you to someone else, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell you to a very brutal slave owner, and see if we can get you in line. Because you base it off my hands. I got money for you. Now you're in their hands, and if you try what you try with me, they're going to be a lot more brutal with you. All right, so they showed a lot of things in that movie. All right, the scene where the slave didn't want to eat and he bust out his front teeth, right, chiseled him out and stuffed it, the funnel down his throat. Come on, man. Historical significance. The text underscores the brutality of slavery and the ways in which the legal and social systems of the time enable and perpetuate this brutality. The mention of hand sawing serves as a stark reminder of the extreme violence and dehumanization that characterized the institution of slavery in the United States. All right, so, and if you go back to let's go to my file section. I had something here that was down below there. I could have just showed you from there, but I have it here anyways. Alright, check this out. Right? Look at Esau smiling. Alright, slave hung upside down and sawed completely in half. And then you got other slaves on the ground, right? And they got smiles on their face. You think they'd be freaking smiling, man? But it's okay. It's okay. Alright? Like the scripture say, the joy of a hypocrite is for a moment. Okay? All these things, all these curses. Let me get that real quick. Okay? I closed that one out. No. Here we go. Let me get that real quick. Alright, for now, we suffer these things for now. And I'm going to balance it out. Because yeah, we suffer these things, but the balance is we were warned of it. Alright? But let's get through this first. Because I haven't even got to the main portion that I want to get to. Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And the scriptures also say that our hearts shall meditate terror. Right? So let's go back over here. We got all that, right? Yeah, okay. So let me get out of this one and go back to this one over here. Or did I close out the other AI chat? I thought I had another one. Okay, yeah, it was this one. So yeah, going back to yep. So going back to this one, it says restraints were also used. Second paragraph here. Restraints were also used to inflict pain and prevent escape. These included iron collars. Hey, is that not in the scriptures? All right. He shall you to put a yoke of iron upon thy neck till he have destroyed thee. Sometimes with spikes or bells. All right, which obviously the bells will ring, all right, and give away your where you are. All right, if you're trying to run and you really get in hiding, the bells will give you away. All right, spikes or bells. With the spikes we get caught in the thickets and the bushes and stuff like that, and the trees, and you get caught. The dog will come and chew on you until the master came. Right, and chains to the legs. Straightforward that one. Mutilation and branding were also used to identify and punish enslaved people. Branding irons were used to mark runaways and mutilation, such as the amputation of toes or ears. All right, and I haven't really had a chance to look into, but brothers have mentioned multiple times the book called Delectable Negro, right? Such as the amputation of toes or ears was a relatively common punishment. Sexual abuse was another form of torture. Right, buck breaking, main thing, raping the women, young girls, probably even pregnant women, right? With enslaved women facing the constant threat of rape and sexual exploitation. See, methods of execution were also brutal, including being rolled in a barrel with nails. Wow, burning at the stake, and other forms of torture. Now, burning at the stake, that's well, it's not the exact same thing, but just made me think about Nero, all right, the so-called Roman candles, right? They would take, it'd be a kind of a special event or, something like that, and they'll take an Israelite and douse them in oil all over them and then light them on fire while they have a joyous, fun time. It's clear. And it says in other forms of torture. Specific examples and accounts. Accounts from both enslavers and the enslaved provide details of the torture. One account describes a woman being whipped and having salt rubbed into her wounds, as we read in the other chat, right? Another describes a man being placed in a cotton gin. That's something I brought up before. The cotton gin, okay? The cotton gin and left to die. Let's see if we can copy that one real quick. Because I mentioned that sometime maybe last year or before. What was it here? All right. So let's take this and let's delete this and post up cotton gin and slave punishment. Okay. So cotton gin, it says unintended consequences of the cotton gin. The U.S. Constitution in Article 1, Section 8 grants Congress the power to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limit. Wait, this is even. I think they're trying to give us the run around here. Okay. So it was telling us about the machine. The cotton gin's patent drawing illustrates the design of the machine, which uses a combination of wire screens and small wire hooks to pull the cotton through, while brushes remove the loose cotton lint. This innovation made cotton farming much more profitable and efficient. The increased profitability of cotton farming, spurred by the cotton gin, led to a surge in demand for land and labor. This, in turn, fueled the expansion of slavery in the American South. The demand for enslaved people increased dramatically to cultivate and harvest the cotton as the gin and other things, right? Because pretty much all this wealth they saw when they came over here, these Edomites, right? And they got Israelite slaves to help build this place up, to labor at this place, and so on and so forth. While speeding up the cleaning process, it did not reduce the labor. And come on, you got a family of 4 or 5, and you barely making enough money to feed one of y'all, but you got to feed 5 mouths. You got to pay for schooling. You got to get clothes, and man, come on, man, it's all good. It's all good. It says, while speeding up the cleaning process did not reduce the labor needed for planting and picking. The demand for cotton also led to the development of textile mills, as seen in the photograph of the Lincoln Cotton Mills in Evansville, Indiana. All right, I want to get to they mentioned they don't mention the expansion of cotton cultivation required more land, which led to the forced removal of Native American tribes for their ancestral lands, such as the Cherokee, to make way for cotton plantations. That's the Indian Removal Act of the 1800s, around 1830, give or take, right? The cotton gin led to an increased demand for slaves because, while it made cotton processing more efficient, it did not reduce the need for labor in planting, cultivating, and harvesting the crop. The unintended consequences of the cotton gin included the expansion of slavery, the growth of the internal slave trade, the displacement of Native Americans, and the development of the textile industry, all of which were interconnected and shaped the economic and social landscape of the United States in the 19th century. Bear with me. Okay, we're taking this time. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Going back to the other chat. All right. Yep, we read that. Toes, ears was relatively common. Yep. Sexual abuse was another form of torture, and that's also in Deuteronomy 28 chapter, right? Well, sort of in there, but it where it mentions well, actually, yeah, because it says another man shall lie with your wife, or just kind of roughly paraphrase what it says there. Sexual abuse was another form of. As a matter of fact, let me see real quick. Because like I said, we're going to balance it out, because ultimately the Lord, let's just get to when we get to it. 28. All right. See if I can find where it says. Here it is, verse 30. Excuse me, Deuteronomy 28:30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. All right, and even when you think about them having, certain slave men, because of how they were built, their stature, and whatever else they were capable of, they will use them to breed, other slaves. Right? They would take that particular man and have him lie with different women. Okay. To breed more slaves, after his, likeness, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that woman that he would have lied with might have been someone else's wife. Says, thou shalt, and even master, right? Master, raping women. All right, so it falls right in line. And another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. All right. So let's go. Yeah, I think we're in this one. Let's go back. Sexual abuse was another form of torture, with enslaved women facing the constant threat of rape and sexual exploitation. Methods of execution were also brutal, including being rolled in a barrel with nails, burning at the stake, and other forms of torture. See? Specific examples and accounts from both enslavers and the enslaved provide details of the torture. One account describes a woman being whipped and having salt rubbed into her wounds. Another describes a man being placed in a cotton gin and left to die, which we just read about. So we actually went further back up than we wanted to, but it's okay. The use of the hot paddle, a thin piece of wood with holes, was also used to inflict pain. All right, the hot paddle. I guess we can look it up real quick. Hot paddle. Can I grab it? They're not letting me grab it. Okay, there we go. Alright, hot paddle. Let me get the other chat back up. Okay. And we'll get rid of cotton gin and paste hot paddle. Spacebar that. Okay. Double check my ticker. Okay. Hot paddle. Alright, understanding the term. The phrase hot paddle and slave punishment combines two distinct concepts: hot paddle and slave punishment. The term hot paddle suggests a paddle that has been heated, presumably to inflict more severe pain. Slave punishment refers to the use of physical discipline of enslaved people. This combination applies a specific form of torture or punishment used within the context of slavery. Just tell me what it's about, okay? Esau with their words and their big words. Just say what you gotta say, man. Paddles were designed to inflict pain without causing permanent damage. Okay, that was straightforward. You could have just said that. The hatching of what's this down here? See, I didn't mean to light that up. Okay, look, a slave. Okay, I guess she's just on the ground in pain. Looks like a female. I guess she's just on the ground in pain. But you see the paddle there, right? And they said it would be heated. Yeah. It says, considering the providing information, the phrase hot paddle and slave punishment describes a specific and likely brutal form of punishment. The use of a heated paddle would intensify the pain inflicted on the enslaved person. This practice would have been a tool of control and subjugation, designed to enforce obedience and deter resistance. The historical concept, I remember at some point they had paddles in school, all right, which I never got beat with a paddle. Okay. But yeah, in school even. Now I'm not saying that's the same thing, but still, right, to whip someone else's child, all right, as if you have the permission, but you know, pretty much under the state, right? They were part of a system and dehumanization and exploitation. The use of a hot paddle would have, now I'm not saying it was a hot paddle, but I was just mentioning a paddle in particular, would have been intended to inflict severe pain and suffering, serving as a means of control and a demonstration of the enslaver's power. Therefore, the phrase hot paddle and slave punishment refers to a method of inflicting severe physical pain on enslaved people using a paddle that has been heated, likely as a tool of control and subjugation within the context of slavery. But they forgot to add what they said up above, but without causing any severe, long-term lasting damage, so they can continue, in their slave work or whatever, right? So let's go back. Let's get this back up because we're almost through here. It says the use of hot paddle, right? Of the hot paddle, a thin piece of wood with holes, was also used to inflict pain. The purpose of these torturous practices was multifaceted. Primarily, it was to enforce discipline and control, ensuring enslaved people worked and obeyed orders. It also served to deter others from disobedience or escape. The brutality was also a means of asserting the enslaver's dominance and power. And that's pretty much it for that one. Well, I typed in what types of torture was done to Negro slaves on plantations, right? And there's many things. I was surprised it actually mentioned the cotton gin, right? Because I haven't read any of this stuff. So, but yeah, because cotton gin is something I mentioned, an industrial tool that they also use for torture. Okay, and many other things. Oh, there was another one. Actually, it's in the you know what? Let's probably keep this one short, and we'll come back and do a part 2 because I want to get to those chapter 15 of 30 and 9. All right, and read those 2 pages there for you. All right, and also going to grabbing some scriptures to balance things out. So that might be a good stopping point here with what we've already read, and we'll just come back and make a part two. So yeah. So for now, Lord willing, you edify. To next time, Yahshua, I'm going to say shalom.